So welcome back to Exponents. We're going to simplify a few more examples here. So let's look at this first example. I have 2x squared raised to the negative fourth power. So remember, if I'm following the order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we're supposed to do what's inside the parentheses first, but if you notice, there's really nothing I can do inside the parentheses. So my attention is really now drawn to this outside exponent. Now, since it's negative, that negative exponent has important sense to me. This negative exponent kind of applies to flip it over, make it a fraction. So what happens to me is this becomes then 1 over 2x squared raised to the fourth power. So I have that notation. Now when I pick up on, this kind of takes on the look of this bottom one here. Notice how we have a to the m, b to the m. Notice how that outside exponent comes through here. It goes to both of them. Now remember, 2 does have an exponent. It does have an exponent of 1 there. It just isn't written there because 2 to the first power is 2. So I'm allowed to stick that 1 back in there if it helps me understand what I need to be doing. Because remember, this outside exponent has to be going into these inside exponents. So what I'm picking up on then is, that's going to change that to 2 to the fourth power, and that's going to be x to the 8th. Remember, a power to power, we multiply those exponents to simplify. The only other thing I need to do is, I need to change 2 to the fourth to what it can be changed into, because we do know that 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, and times 2 more is 16. So I need to simplify that 2 to the fourth as a 16, and I can leave that then as 1 over 16 times x to the 8th. And that would be my simplified answer. So all we're getting is different expressions here. So that's number 3. Number 4, we have 4a cubed raised to the second power. So again, I really can't do anything inside the parentheses, which brings me to my attention on the outside. So there's no negative exponents, so this is straight up math now. Don't have to do any flipping. We recognize that this is kind of like this down here. We have to bring this outside power inside, and they're connected by multiplication. But remember, if I give you a 4, it's understood to have an exponent of 1 there. So what that means then is this is going to become 4 squared times then, and 2 times 3 would be 6, so it's going to be a to the 6th power. And therefore we end up with 16a to the 6th, because 4 squared is 16. Now remember, I could write that as, that 2 means there's 2 of these. I could change that to 4a cubed times 4a cubed. I could follow it that way. And since this is all multiplication, I can pick up on that 4 times 4 is 16, and a cubed times a cubed, that's 6 a's multiplied together, and therefore that's a to the 6th. But if I want to take advantage of shortcuts, I'm allowed to bring this power through and get my answer that way. So, let's look at this next example. Number 5, I have x to the negative 1 divided by 4x to the fourth. What I'm picking up on in this problem is there's a negative exponent. That means this piece here is going to go to the denominator. There aren't any negative exponents at the bottom, so those pieces are going to stay right there. So what happens is there's nothing in the top, which means I have to use a 1 as a placeholder if it's a fraction. We can't leave the numerator vacant, so we put a 1 there. And again, what we have on the bottom is 4x to the fourth times another x, because once I move that x negative 1 down, it's no longer negative. So what I have then is 1 on the top, I have a 4, but x to the fourth times x can be simplified because they have the same base. So that tells me if they have x to the fourth times x, that tells me that there's 5 of those altogether. So my simplified answer then is, I have that 4 there, but x to the fourth times x is the same thing as x to the fifth. So 1 over 4, let me make that a little bit cleaner. So 1 over 4 times x to the fifth would be my simplified answer. On this one, we can pick up on that these m to the fourths just divide out. So therefore, the answer becomes 1 over 2, or 1/2. What you also could pick up on is, I could be subtracting exponents. 4 minus 4 is 0, and we know that anything to the 0 power turns into the 1, and that's where I can also get that 1/2. So These will divide out, or 4 minus 4 is 0, and we know that anything to 0 power is 1. So all that really leaves me is a 2 on the denominator. But remember, I can't leave that numerator vacant, so I have to put a 1 there as a placeholder. So notice how the 2 again is in the denominator. My numerator is vacant, so put a 1 there, and we do end up with a half as our answer. All right, I think we got a few more to do. Let's see. I think, yeah, a little bit more here, so stay tuned for those.